Greetings, up and Adam. I'm here in Los Angeles. I'm jacked up 100 days out from the World Cup down there in Australia and New Zealand. As you mentioned, our U.S. women, #1 in the world and going for an unprecedented third World Cup in a row. Never been done, men or women. Also, biggest women's World Cup ever, 32 teams. So all sorts of debutantes when it comes to new teams and new players. So I cannot wait. I am jacked up. Let's be honest. If there's a men's World Cup, a women's World Cup, men's soccer, women's soccer, co-ed naked soccer, as long as people are kicking a ball, I am there.
You're there, right? But this happens to be just an incredible tournament. Alexi, talk about that. Talk about trying to win the most competitive soccer tournament in the world. Not once, not twice, but 3 times in a row. Just the consistency that takes. Put that into perspective, what this accomplishment would actually mean.
I mean, it would put them already, they're already in an upper echelon in terms of greatest teams ever.
Wow.
And this would certainly put them in the conversation of the greatest team ever in terms of what they are doing. Like I said, unprecedented to be able to win 3 in a row. But there are a lot of teams that are gunning for him right now. And we are incredibly fortunate in the U.S. because many years ago, many decades ago, we put a priority and the resources and the energy into women's athletics, and in particular, U.S. women's soccer. And that has given us an advantage and a head start. And we have, the results have come with that. But the rest of the world has started to catch up. They are putting more resources in. That's a good thing, actually. Competition is a good thing. So you have the likes of England and France and Germany and our friends up to the north, Canada and Netherlands, and the list goes on and on.
Spain pretty good too, right?
Yeah, they want to spoil the party, as it were. But they have a long history. The U.S. women's national team has a long history. It's in their blood. There are plenty of usual suspects: Alex Morgan, Alyssa Nares, Megan Rapinoe, Becky Sauerbrunn. But there's also a whole crop of young players that have come up: Alyssa Thompson, Trinity Rodman, Mallory Swanson, who just got hurt, so she's not going to be there. But there's plenty of depth for Vlatko Andonovski, the head coach and company.
Yeah, who is that person, Alexi? I remember when I first started watching, it was Sydney Leroux, Alex Morgan, who of course still part of the team, but as she is a vet now. Who are the most exciting young players that fans out there should keep an eye on?
Well, I mean, you got like an 18-year-old, in Alyssa Thompson, who just got called back up to the national team after the injury to Mallory Swanson. Trinity Rodman's really fun. Katarina Macario, who has been injured, but she may come back into play. And Alex Morgan, who's on fire right now. The interesting story, I think, is going to be Julie Ertz. Keep in mind, she has already won 2 World Cups, but she's been out for 20 months. She had a kid, and now she's back in the game and back with the national team. And she fundamentally changes the way this team plays. Even Julie Ertz at 80%, let's be honest, is probably better than what the U.S. has in midfield right now. But it's still, that's a long time out. So we'll see how many games she gets under her belt before the World Cup. Like we said, 100 days out from the World Cup. That is going to go by like that.
Right. And I can only imagine how incredibly inspiring that must be also to not just people, to women out there, to see Julie Ertz back on the pitch. Alexi, I think, and you mentioned this, we saw this happen with basketball. The gap between the U.S. and the world, it starts to shrink, and I think it is a good thing. Is that happening? And even more so than just the England, Spain, is it on a world level? Is that gap tightening a bit?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is just happening naturally, and part of it is being forced in a good sense. And even 32 teams, the biggest women's World Cup ever. You have teams like Ireland and Haiti and Portugal and Panama and the Philippines and Vietnam and Morocco and Zambia. It's their first World Cup, and so it's an incredible opportunity and stage for these young women and for their teams and for the sport, and they can use it. Yes, there's the competition part. Then you have the elites up there that are going to obviously vie for the World Cup. And as I said before, the competition is good for the U.S. Yes, we want to win every single game. Yes, we want to win more World Cups, but we want it to be competitive. And, a team like England right now, they got to be licking their chops. They won the Euros last year. They are feeling it right now, and they would love nothing more than to knock this U.S. team off of their pedestal down there in Australia. And look, I want the U.S. to win, but I might want England not to win it even more. So anybody but England winning, I'll be cool with.
And I looked at the odds. It's razor close. I mean, it essentially seems like a lot of people believe it's a toss-up between USA and England.
It is. And look, you're going to have your France, and don't sleep on Germany and these types of teams that are coming through. The U.S., it shouldn't be a problem in group stage. You got the United States, Vietnam, Netherlands, and Portugal. The World Cup kicks off on Fox on July 20th. And then on that Friday, July 21st, in prime time, U.S. women's national team versus Vietnam. Now, we shouldn't have a problem, but it's still going to be a wonderful type of moment. So there's the actual competition that's going on on the field. And then there's those bigger picture types of stories where we see players and teams and countries at a World Cup for the first time, and all of the pride when they put their hand over their heart and they're wearing that shirt and that anthem plays, how much it means to them. And then the long-term good consequences that can come from participating in a World Cup when it comes to women's sport and obviously women's soccer.
I'll get you out of here on this one, Alexi. How about the first time in the Southern Hemisphere? We're going to be in New Zealand and in Australia. How about the location? Because that's always a big deal. Where is the tournament played?
Well, look, we blow it out no matter where it is. You just saw us a few months ago. I can't believe this. A few months ago over there in Qatar, for the Men's World Cup. And by the way, that was arguably one of the greatest World Cups that we have ever seen in terms of drama on and off the field.
Oh, that
we blew it out. I mean, we blew it out. So we're going to do the same thing this summer. We'll be down in Sydney, Australia for with our Fox set. But obviously, this is happening in Australia and New Zealand. So we'll have teams going back and forth and all that. You're going to have to look at me for a little bit down there on the set. We just announced today that my friend and my Rutgers colleague, Carly Lloyd, the great Carly Lloyd, will be joining us. So we're going to have a star-studded type of cast when it comes to our studio production. And of course, our games are second to none with a lot of the usual suspects and some new surprises as we get closer and closer to the World Cup.